Okay, at this point we have all the tools we need to be able to create what's called a data access object. Hopefully you've seen that lecture now. We have the ability to insert, update, delete, and query on all this stuff. All right? But we don't have the piece yet. So what I want to do is I want to start with a design top-down on this to some degree. Let's create a new Java class. And so this is going to be our product DAO. There's a number of ways this can be created. Sometimes people create them with an interface first called product DAO. Sometimes people call them product JDBC. All that design stuff is immaterial right now. The concept is what is important. There's many ways these are named. Don't fall in love with a specific naming strategy because you might see something else later that you like better, or somebody will make you do something later. But right now what we need to do is we need to have a method of create, and we're going to create it based off of a product that's going to be passed in. We're going to have a method to update based off a product that we're going to update. And the difference there is we're going to assume the update, we know that the product already exists, where create's going to be inserting it. We're going to have a delete. And then we're going to go after query. And our query in this case, we'll just get them all. So we're going to get a list, control space, of product. I have to do something inside of here. So this is the foundation of what we're going to build. We're going to have a component that interacts with our database, that handles all the creation of objects, all those insert statements, all the updates of objects, those update statements, the delete, those delete statements, and the query, the query of all of the ones that are in the update. Now, there could be many queries. I could get them all that start with the letter Q. I could get them all that are greater than some price. It's up to you on how you want to do this. It's based off the functionality of what your application is, but in our case, we're just going to view them all. We're not going to have all that many of them out there. Now that we have the design, all we have to do is plug in the implementation for these. Easy, right? Well, yes and no. We do have a start for it. And let's start very simply with this query right here, which is the one that's the most solidly formed. So I can copy this right here. Just the code that's working in place, I'm going to go copy it. I'm going to paste that into my getAll method. So I have an import that's going to happen. That's totally fine. I'm going to run with that import. And then there's going to be a bunch of stuff that doesn't exist yet. All right, so we're going to have to go and figure that out here in a second. But this is the start. So now we know this is generally where we're going to start from. We can take advantage of the work we did before and start moving it around. The next step is to go and clean this up. This is where it becomes difficult because I just inserted a bunch of errors. I can't continue until I get every single one of them clean. This approach might be slightly more difficult if you're a little bit newer to code, trying to fix them all, because you have to understand what each one of the errors is and how do we fix it. It might be easier for you to build this from scratch, just build the lines of code individually. The toughest thing when you see error messages, if you don't understand them, is how do you fix them? And so you don't want to put yourself in the situation all that much. This is why you don't like to copy and paste code that much. Because again, I end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 errors. I don't know what any of them mean. I have to go look at them individually and sort them out. So cannot find symbol statement. I don't know what that means. Some of these are a little bit easier. I come into this one, unreported exception. That I can handle. That I know how to do. Alt-Enter. I'm going to add a throws clause for this. And this is actually going to be something that's going to end up on pretty much every one of them. Because whatever work we're doing in the database is going to have that be thrown on all of them. So I'm going to add that to all of them right now, just because then that'll save me from having to do this later on and just add the throws clause. I still don't have the statement though. Where did I get the statement from? So good, down to one error. Well, the statement was a variable. Remember, and the variables are created by me. I created that variable up here. So probably what I can do is just copy this line of code too. I'm going to need a statement anyway, so I can copy this line of code. I can come back up here and Control V, paste it in, and then I'm importing the statement. Excellent. So that compilation's gone. Now I have one here. Where's the connection come from? All right, we'll go back. Here's the connection. This line of code right here. So let me copy this line of code right here, and then I can come back over to the code I put in, paste it in. There you go. Bring this guys in at URL. Where did URL come from? And in here, that's fine. I've done this before. Copy this and bring that back over here. Grumble, grumble, grumble. Okay, there you go. Now it's getting all. Well, it's not really. I'm still returning null, but I'm a little bit closer. So it's a little bit better. I am doing this query. Before I go crazy and try and change the code here, basically all I've done is copy and paste code. I've got to compile again. Let's see if it works. The biggest mistake you can do is take something that's not working and try and make changes to it, and then it could still not be working. And you don't know if it's because of the changes you made or what. So once you have everything compiling, try it out. Now, how do we want to try it out? Well, that's not actually that bad. What I can do is, when I start my program, let's look at what's in the database. The way I can do that is I can create a product DAO right up top. All right, and then do DAO dot get all. I don't have to do anything with it because I'm not getting anything back anyway, but this should print everything out, and then it'll go through the rest of the sequence here, and let's see what happens. So if I go to the top, did it do it? Did it do it? It's only printed out one time. It didn't do it. So something's wrong. What happened here? DAO.getAll. It should have done it, right? Well, let's just check. Let's just put a print line in here. System.out.println. This is my favorite. Is a bunch of exclamation points just to say I got to this point in the code, and then see what happens. And it's not running that line of code. Why isn't it running that line of code? DAO.getAll. It's called getAll. I betcha something funny is going on. Oh, I know why. No, I know why. Maybe I don't know why. Nope, I don't know why. Let's go check it out. This is always a good thing to go off and figure out why code isn't working the way. And so the next thing I'm going to do is going to put a debug point in here. There you go. And let's go and do a debug on this. So this line's of code. Let's step over that line of code. And it skips it. Huh. That's really odd. It's skipping that line of code altogether. Let's do a clean and build. Now let's... Oh, there it goes. So in that case, for whatever reason, it wasn't compiling this code properly. Now I do a clean and build and it ran properly. So there's a little something you got to learn right there. If your code's funny and it's not doing what you expect it to do, sometimes, not every time, you can go up to run and say clean and build, and it'll throw out the old compilation, it'll redo it again, and then let's bring it up a little bit bigger. You can see it ran the code, it's printing out the 3, I'm inserting and updating. You can see then I've added, insert and update, and then I'm deleting. Alright, so now I've shown that I've been able to move this code over to this class. Not quite done yet. Not quite done yet because I'm not putting it into a list. So let's do that right now. So when I do my statement, inevitably what I wanted to get is a list of product. We'll call it products. And we're going to create the new list right here. We'll create it as an array list. Now, ideally in your solution, you should be always dealing with the interface up here list. You should not be passing back and forth array lists. It's a style element. It's not required, but it's much preferable to return back a list and deal with the types as being list. So now that I've created the list of products, what I need to do is instead of printing out the product each time, what I want to do is add to the products that one that I just created, take this out, and then return back products. So you can see here, let me clean this up a little bit. It's so condensed. We'll take this print line out. See all this extra crud up here. It makes it so difficult to read, but we'll fix that in a little bit. So I'm going to create a list of products. Guess what? If there's nothing in this results list, I'll return back an empty list of products because there's nothing there. That's what I want, an empty list. I connect to my database. I do my query. For each item I get back, I'm getting the values out. I'm mapping those into an object. I'm adding that object into the list. I'm going to return that list. And I go back to my main application then. I can basically go through and say for product P in the list that's coming back from here, system.out.println P, and I've cleaned up my code a little bit. So now you can see I'm printing them out and then printing them out again. One little tweak on this I'm going to show to my code then. Now that my product DIO, I'm going to copy these 3 lines of code right here. I'm going to turn off this breakpoint. Don't need that anymore. Let's copy these 3 lines of code right here. I'm going to come down to where I was doing my query before. I'm going to take all of this and delete it. I'm going to put this down there instead. And even better, before I do the update, I'm going to put this down here. So what's going to happen is I'm going to do a query show them all, insert show them all, insert then show them all, then update then show them all, and then delete. I could show them all again at that point if I want to, but that'd be overkill. So let's see what happens. Again, it did not compile my code properly. Let me do a run. I don't know what's up with that. A clean and build. Now it should do it. Yes. Doesn't like that main program. So I have 3 items. Now I have 4 items at the price of $22.95. Now I have 4 items at the price of $1.99, and then I go back to the 3 items as I run it. So that's the start of our product DAO. I want you to do just that much. Go through and refactor this. Create your product DAO. Get the getAll method just by moving that over and make it compile again. Then we'll come back and add in our additional methods here in a little bit.